Hello, friends, and welcome to the Jazz Ranch. It's the Alter Dominant Ego Man here, and I'm glad you joined me. And you know, the KH is always telling me you must be modest, and I told him this. I said, modesty is for those who have no talent. Well, anyway, I was going to tell you the story of when I met Ira Gershwin. You know, back in the 80s, the early 80s, I met Ira Gershwin, and he gave me this piece of advice. He says, never be a name dropper. And so I've lived by that my entire life. I've always respected his opinion that one should never be a name dropper. So I had the fortune of meeting Ira Gershwin, you know. And anyway, I think the KH, I think he's coming, so I have to make my grand exit. Here we go. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Jazz Ranch. I'm actually sorry about the Alter Dominant Man. You know, he showed up here before me, and he always has these little bits he does, you know, and he's trying to get some humor out of the whole thing, you know, and he's trying to tell you not to name drop, and yet he's name dropping, you know, like, that's the joke anyway. So like, if he gives you any bit of a laugh or a chuckle, then maybe he's done his job, and we'll go from there. But anyway, I had a subscriber request this particular video that I do a song by George Shearing called Conception, and he wanted me to analyze what Keith Jarrett was doing. Well, I couldn't go that far yet, but step one, I'm going to look into the song and show you some of the things about it, about the melody, about how the bebop, in other words, the important aspects of like learning this song to help you to play bebop jazz and also bebop improvisation. So it's a very good song to learn. So here we go now with the song by George Shearing called Conception. Before I play the song Conception, I want to mention that George Shearing plays this at a tempo of 100 for the half note. Now that's right up there. That's an up-tempo tune. It'd be 200 for the quarter note. Now I'm going to start out by playing it at 86. And I would recommend starting it somewhere around 60 or 69. I have a version of playing it at 69 tempo. I'm not going to include that in this video because it'll make it too long. It's a long song even though it's up-tempo. I want to keep the video shorter. So I will play it at 86 and then later at 100, and I suggest learning it at around 69. So the lead sheet will be available on my website for no charge. So here we go now with Conception. Starting out, I want to say that this was a request that I had from a subscriber that wanted me to play this song or talk about it in terms of the Keith Jarrett version, and I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to talk about it in terms of how I would play it, and it's a George Shearing composition. I love George Shearing, and just the song alone and getting the notes and playing them and understanding what they are and how they relate to the chords, that's enough to deal with, regardless of how we interpret it according to someone else's style. But we just have to learn the notes and their value in terms of trying to learn the bebop style. Now, if you learn this song and you just learn it in the right hand, you will have accomplished a lot, because it's very, shall we say, complicated in terms of its rhythm and the fact that you're playing a lot of eighth notes. You know, so it moves along like a jazz in a solo. There's also 16th notes in here and some unusual rhythms, so we have to deal with those quarter note triplets and those sort of things. So this is what if you just learn this one song, you will progress in terms of your knowledge of bebop music and bebop soloing. Continuing, the first chord is E flat minor 7 flat 5. Now we're in the key of D flat. So we have those, all those are flats, okay? First chord is E flat minor 7. Now that A in there is not in the scale, but he decided to alter it because he's going to play this melody. That's pretty cool opening line. So I just put the 10th in there like that, root and 10th, like, and then can't put the chord in there because it's in the way of the melody. But now the important thing is to understand that that note hits on the end of 4, but it really should be linked with the next chord of the song to make it, like, in other words, offbeats are paramount. They're important in jazz, so we just emphasize them by putting the chord on there. Like this. Put the chord on there, that makes it stronger, right, than if I just played it like this. Let's see. Put the chord after it like that. Now I'm gonna make that note stronger by putting the chord on it. And then I did this. That's a drop 2. I just harmonized the melody. That's intense. Like that. And filled the chords in. That's a D flat 6 9. Now here you can put the either 7ths to that chord, A flat, and then the next chord ends up on end of 4. So he has interesting rhythmic concepts here, like, let's get it. These are offbeats. Those are offbeats. 1, 2, and. So, you know, bebop is all about the on-beat and the off-beat. So you have to have a variety of that. So we have 8th notes, then off-beats. Then back on the beat again. Offbeat, then a hit on 4. See, so that variety, rhythmic variety there, really makes this bebop, and also unique in its own rhythmic aspect as well as melodic aspect. Continuing, so he ends up there on an A flat minor 7, like it's then A flat major, then it goes A flat minor. So that's a 2-5-1, right? A flat minor, D flat 7 into G flat. Rather than 2-5-1 into the major, it goes into a dominant chord. That allows for movement. Then he goes down chromatically. So this is very interesting. He has 2-5-1, 6. Then he has this chromatic movement. Then a 2-5, then more chromatic movement to that one. And then that becomes a 5 of another cycle of chromatic movement. So you really want to look at the bass line, or what's happening in the bass, or the roots of the chord, to see where the harmonic movement is going. Where, in other words, the essence of the chord is always based on the bass line. So he has G flat, F7, then that creates 5 of 1, which is B flat 7. Then he goes down chromatically through 2 measures, B flat, A7, A flat, G7, ends up on F sharp. Now this becomes another 2-5. So mixing up those chromatic moves with the 2-5s is what the harmonic structure of this song is, that's so fascinating. And then he puts this fascinating melody that's complex against it. So it's really quite a masterpiece. So we'll look at the details in the melody now. Okay, so the bridge now goes to an F sharp minor 7. Now that is not in the 4 chord, right? But the 4 chord should be major in D flat, but it's minor now. So it becomes a 2 of B7, which is 5, and taking us to E major. So you can alter any chord in the system, make it a 2 chord, relate its 5, and then move to another key, sort of that way. So he has this interesting line, like he has these lines that have 16th notes, like those turns, and then this line here into E major. There you have it. Now up the scale. So now he ends up there on that A flat minor. So it's up the scale to A flat minor. Now that's the 5-chord minor. Now he goes through this cycle of fifths chromatically. A flat minor, D flat, G minor 7, C7, F sharp minor, B, taking him down to E minor. You know, that's real jazz. Like, and then he uses these great lines like, these are quarter note triplets. Da, dee, da, flat 5, da, 9, dee, da, flat 5, same pattern, 9, dee, da, flat 5, to the 11 there now on the E minor, and then the A7 here. That takes us back to E flat. Now, how do we get back to E flat minor 7 flat 5? Well, the A7 is just the tritone substitute of that chord. So it's linked to it, you see, because of the tritone substitute. It wants to go, actually it wants to go to E, but it goes down a half step lower there because it's a tritone substitute. That, you want to look that up if you don't understand it, but like that's a tritone relationship. So it's beautifully linked. So one of the things that makes this song so masterful, this George Shearing composition, is that when he's playing complex or more complicated in his right hand, or more busy or more eighth note, in his left hand he's keeping it simple. In other words, just one chord or, you know, 2 chords. When he gets more complex in the left hand, then he gets simpler in his right hand. So that's very interesting. In other words, the first chord is this, and then it goes eighth notes. Now it's simple in the right hand, you see, but the chords are moving more complex down stepwise, or half, you know, and chromatically. And this melody is simpler. Da ba da da ba da da ba da. Just repeating riff. Ba ba da. While the chords are moving. Da ba da ba ba. Now more movement in the right hand. Now also the motives, right? Ascending, ascending. Now staying on that note, repeating that motive. That's a motive there. See, da 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 da. Then this motive, da 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 da. Repeating an idea means that it emphasizes that idea, and it makes it more important and makes it interesting to listen to. You don't want to just hear a bunch of notes all over the place. You want to hear things that connect, you see. Then he goes ba ba da ba da ba da da da. Ascending, then descending. Da 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 da. See, they complement this line. Ba ba da ba da ba da. Complements this line. This is the complementary line. You have to have those ingredients, all those ingredients in a good composition. Even if it's bebop, you know, this is bebop. It's not like a simple, well-known something that everyone's going to hum along with, you know, or sing along with. Even within that, a good song has to have those elements. Wrapping up, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed this version of Conception by George Shearing and my analysis. Please write to me if you have questions. I love to hear from you, so please write to me your comments They mean a lot to me, and I appreciate them, and I try to respond to all your comments. And give me a little bit of time, but I always will try to respond. And until next time, I'll say, in the words of my great friend Hermie Dressel, God rest his merry soul, swing loose. Bye-bye, and we'll see you next time around. Bye-bye.